Introduction to the Book of Obadiah. The name of the book writer is Obadiah. No information was mentioned about him, and in that he is similar to Malachi and Habakkuk. His name means, servant or worshipper of Jehovah. We can understand from his book that he is from the southern kingdom. This will become clearer when we talk about the time of writing the book. The book of Obadiah is the shortest book in the Old Testament. It consists of 21 verses, but still it is not the shortest book in the whole Bible. Book theme. The book talks about two ideas. The first idea is the main one, which is judgment upon Edom. The second idea appears in the background, which is Israel's future blessing. We will find many Bible books that talk about the judgment upon Edom. Among the major prophets, we find Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, and Ezekiel. And among the minor prophets, Amos, Joel, Obadiah, and Malachi. All of them have declared judgment upon Edom. And to know who Edom is, we will find an explicit verse in Genesis chapter 36, in which it is mentioned that Esau is Edom and he chose Mount Seir as his place of residence. And if we look at his offspring, we will find that Esau begot Eliphaz, who, in turn, begot Amalek. Thus, we realize that the Amalekites are descendants of Esau. The hostility of Edom to Israel is fierce. This is due to many reasons. First, he is his twin brother. The greater the kinship, the greater the enmity is considered. Second, enmity is not due to land or property covetousness, but due to intense hatred. And gloating reveals the extent of this hatred and enmity. Third, because of the treacherous dealings and continuous betrayal of his brother. The fourth point is the long time of the enmity, and we will see that clear in the end of this episode. The date of writing. Obadiah does not explicitly mention a date, nor write the names of contemporary kings. Thus, the date of writing will be a conclusion based on the content of the book. In verse 11 of the book of Obadiah, he identifies a specific situation in which Edom's enmity emerged. He says, "On the day that you stood aloof, on the day that strangers carried off his wealth, and foreigners entered his gate and cast lots for Jerusalem, you too were as one of them." In order to determine what is the intended event here, we turn to Psalm number 137. Where we find the Israelites there complaining about Edom's gloating as well, in verse 7. And saying, "Remember, Lord, what the Edomites did on the day Jerusalem fell. Tear it down," they cried. "Tear it down to its foundations." The same psalm begins with a verse indicating the time and place of its writing. "By the rivers of Babylon we sat and wept when we remembered Zion." Psalm number 137 verse 1. Thus, the intended occasion for Edom's gloating is the Babylonian captivity of Judah. This view is convincing because it is in line with all the verses of the book. Thus, the first possible date for writing the book of Obadiah is after the Babylonian captivity and after the destruction of Jerusalem. That is, after 586 BC. And since Edom was free, till 553 BC, when he was defeated by Babylon in this year. Thus, the proposed time for writing is between 586 BC and 553 BC. Although if we look at the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, we will find that there are common words between Jeremiah and Obadiah. But this does not specify the time of writing, because we cannot know if one of them quoted from the other, or if the Holy Spirit had declared to the two the same decree, because the two spoke of the same Edom. In addition, Obadiah mentioned the captivity, which Jeremiah did not mention. And we can divide this book into 4 parts. The first part is the introduction, we find it in the first verse. The second part talks about the humiliation of Edom's pride, which we find it in verses 2 through 9. The third part explains the reasons for the judgment, which is mentioned in the verses 10 to 16. And the last part talks about Israel's final blessing, in verses 17 to 21. In order to clarify Edom's enmity to Israel throughout their history, This will take us back to the beginning, before the existence of the people of Israel and Edom, when all the matter was a personal issue, between the twin brothers, Esau and Jacob. We find Esau is at enmity with Jacob and wants to kill him. Then later, in the exodus of the Israelites from the land of Egypt, we find Amalekites, who are the descendants of Esau, going out against God's people to fight them. In their war, they did not raise an army against an army, as any war is declared. But they deceived the people from behind and killed the stragglers, who marched at the end of the army. We see another situation with the Edomites themselves, when they refused to allow God's people to cross their land. Although the Israelites made it clear that they would only cross, without going through a field or a vineyard, and without drinking water from their land. But Edom refused and went out to fight them. In the times of David, we find a strange situation from a person named Doeg, who is an Edomite. When he plotted against David before Saul, Doeg killed all the priests of the Lord and destroyed their city. But the period of David's rule comes, when we find Israel superior to Edom, and we read in 2 Samuel chapter 8 and verse 14, all the Edomites became servants to David. And in the days of Jehoshaphat, they tried to break free by allying with other peoples. But the Lord helped Jehoshaphat and gave him a great victory over them. In the days of Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, Edom was able to break away from the hand of Judah, and they chose their own king. After that, the Babylonian captivity of Judah took place, and we read in the book of Obadiah about the gloating of Edom at Judah, and how they helped Babylon in their war against Judah. But a few years later, in 553 BC, Babylon turned against Edom and fought them and defeated them as well. After the story of captivity, we read a situation in which Haman the Agagite's enmity towards the people of Israel appeared, and Haman was a descendant of the Amalekites. When he tried not only to kill Mordecai, the Jew, but he thought of exterminating the entire Jews. But then the Nabatean established their empire in Mount Seir in 312 BC. So the Edomites were forced to leave their homeland. They went to live in western Judea in the days of the Maccabees. John Hyrcanus, ruler of the Jews at that time, was able to defeat the Edomites and forced them to convert to Judaism and to circumcise in 110 BC approximately. The reign passed successfully among the Maccabees family, until the time of the two brothers, Aristobulus II and Hyrcanus II. When Antipater the Edomite succeeded in weakening the kingdom by creating enmity between the two brothers. He also helped the Romans to conquer Jerusalem. Finally, he was able to reach the throne in 63 BC. After Antipater the Edomite, his son, Herod the Great, took over the throne in 37 BC. And here begins a series of persecution, where the people of God suffered a lot from Herod family. Herod the Great tried to kill Jesus himself, when he slew all the children that were in Bethlehem. His son Herod Antipas came after him and took the throne in 4 BC. It was he who killed John the Baptist and delivered his head on a platter to Herodias. And after him was Herod Agrippa, who took the throne in 41 AD. He was the one who killed James, brother of John, and then tried to kill Peter as well. The last Herod was Herod Agrippa II, who took the throne in 49 AD, and he was the one before whom Paul was tried. After that, Jerusalem was destroyed by Titus the Roman, and after that the Edomites disappeared and were dispersed. Thus, we were able to know a summary of Edom's enmity to Israel, which continued throughout their existence.